All right, let's switch focus now as we journey to Oyo State, where the Oyo State House of Assembly has impeached the Deputy Governor, Rauf Olaniyan. Olaniyan was impeached by the lawmakers over allegations of misconduct on Monday. The decision was reached after the lawmakers presented and considered the recommendation of the seven-man panel set up by the Chief Judge, Munta Abimbola, to investigate the Deputy Governor over allegations of gross misconduct and abuse of office. The impeachment, according to the Assembly, takes immediate effect. Now, joining us is Henry Ode. He is a public affairs analyst, and he would be further analyzing this issue with us. Thank you for joining us, Henry.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what are your thoughts on this latest move in the state?
Thank you. You see, my thought is that of a mixed reaction. Because, first of all, I think that this is a needless impeachment. And secondly, I think the impeachment is an aftermath of what, in my view, is a result of disloyalty to one's principle. Having said that, you would realize that since the impeachment yesterday, there has been relative peace everywhere, and that gives a message that depicts agreement with what the government or the governor or the House of Assembly, as the case may be, have done. At the beginning of the entire impeachment process, it was transparent because, of course, you all know that it was an entirely legislative affair. It wasn't an individual writing a petition letter against the erstwhile deputy governor to the House of Assembly. It was entirely a legislative affair. So when you look at all the things that have happened since the impeachment, and even during the process of the impeachment, you would want to feel like the people of Oyo State seem to be in agreement with the entire process.
So if you say, sorry, Samson, so if you say it's a needless move, and then now you're saying there is peace in the state, how do you marry those two statements?
Thank you. It's a needless move because the erstwhile deputy governor could have averted this. He could have.
Okay.
First, he could have averted it by showing the expected level of loyalty.
Okay. Okay.
To the governor, he could have. So it was as a result of that perceived disloyalty. And you know for a fact that in Oyo State, the governor is the leader of the ruling party. And the House of Assembly is a dominated PDP House of Assembly. So it's a house that does not require any opposition to do whatever they want to do. So bearing that in mind, you could have averted all these things. So it's a needless one.
When you say needless, hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, okay. When you say needless, what exactly should we define as loyalty? Because we've had, loyalty being thrown within the political landscape in terms of, the deputy governor and as principal, not just for your state. We've had various, instances where there's a disagreement between the governor and the deputy, and the next thing is, the governor seemingly wields his power and influence to, ensure that the House impeaches the deputy governor. So what exactly would you clarify or term as loyalty in this sense, within the context of Oyo State's politics, considering that the governor and his deputy literally fell apart barely a year into office?
Do not forget that at the beginning of this whole joint ticket in 2019,
yes,
the erstwhile deputy governor and the incumbent governor were not on the same page in terms of political parties. The erstwhile deputy governor came from the ADC. He had aspirations to become the governor of the state. And at the level there were political permutations and scheming, there were arrangements from different quarters that eventually culminated into their joint ticket on the platform of the ruling party, the PDP. So that, in might still be nursing the ambition to become the governor of the state, the governor will definitely want to put him in check.
Okay. Why?
So, in order, and you do not forget that this is all politics, and in order to end the total respect of your principal, that you are not having a conflicting interest against his, you should be able to show that issues such as aspirations and political interests does not conflict your interest as the deputy governor, the former deputy governor, and the governor. So when you begin to give your principal that you want what he wants, then the issue of loyalty will come on board, and then the issue of trust will also come to the table. And then this is the kind of things that you see.
Okay.
So having said that, this is not to say that what has transpired at the House of Assembly was a product, because so far till now there hasn't been a connection, there hasn't been a correlation, directly to the governor. It was entirely because when the petition was actually presented at the floor of the House, it was a 23-man signatory petition. So at the end of the day, it was a legislative affair. It has no connection. But then the fact that the governor is the leader of the party, and even the lawmakers are expected to be loyal to the governor, there were insinuations and speculations that this is a product of what was happening at the executive arm of the government. So basically, when you talk about loyalty, it's about giving the other person, who in this case is your superior, your principal, the one who you are directly answerable to, the confidence that you are on the same page with him or her, but in this case, him. So when there are doubts, distrust, and suspicion that you may want what your principal wants, then this is the kind of thing that you see. So basically, that is what loyalty in this context justifies.
Okay, I'll take you on two things. You said the lawmakers, the governor being the leader of the party, the lawmakers are meant to be loyal to him. I'll take you on that in just a moment. But if you are laying the blame squarely on the deputy governor for not being loyal to his principal, hence, is ousted, is ousted rather from office, don't you also blame the governor?
I have not blamed the deputy. I have not blamed the erstwhile deputy governor. I'm only trying to establish the reasons why he could have averted
this instance. Okay, fine. Why not? Don't you think the governor also has a fair share of the blame, considering that he picked his running mate? He had a prerogative to pick a running mate in 2019 and decided to go to for someone who they were not on the same in the same party. Someone who he knew quite well also wanted the same office as he wanted. Don't you think the governor as well probably made a wrong choice back then in 2018 when he made his decision?
One of the things that this kind of argument will readily bring out is the tendency to either be a pro or anti. But in this case, I am trying as much as possible to just strike the balance. But you see, you cannot lay blame on the governor for picking him as a running mate, because eventually, that when that prior to the 2019 election, the emergence of the present government of Seyi Makinde in Oyo State is a product of coalition. Because there were so many parties that came together to adopt him as a gubernatorial candidate. And at the end of the day, the ADC, from where the erstwhile deputy governor came, was part of that coalition. So at the end of the day, you should expect that the governor becomes the leader of the state. And so, regardless of whatever has transpired at the party level, should end at the party level. Because, of course, the deputy governor has dropped his membership of the party from where he came from and entered into the marriage on a joint ticket
Okay.
with the incumbent governor. So it means that he is now a bona fide member of PDP.
PDP.
And you are bound by the constitution of PDP to be loyal.
Okay.
And you are expected, by reason of the office you hold, to be loyal to your principal. So when there are issues like that that borders on trust, suspicion, and disloyalty, you are going to definitely get this kind of friction. I give you an analogy. This is more like a case of a wife who is married to a man. You have filed for divorce. You said you are tired of the marriage, and you have moved into another man's house, and you are still coming back to the man where you have filed for divorce to struggle for the bed with the same man.
But you have been talking about loyalty since the beginning of this conversation. But the reason that was put in this report is that it was a case of misconduct and abuse of office. Does it mean that there's a lot going on in the background that is not in the public space?
You can take that to the bank. There is quite a lot going on, and it is not peculiar to your state. Everybody who is holding or has held a public office, they definitely have this way of covering each other's tracks. The only time you get to see these tracks being exposed is when there are conflicting interests. So it is not a case of the governor being a saint in this case. We are only addressing the issue of the political scheming and how the erstwhile deputy governor was not clever enough to avert this situation from happening. Because at the end of the day, it is still all politics. Let me tell you, when the House of Assembly petitioned the erstwhile deputy governor, he was given the privilege of a fair hearing to defend himself. The House did not even mandate him or summon him to appear before it. The House only required that he responded to the allegations leveled against him. I would ordinarily have expected that as a learned, as an informed person, as an elite, he should first of all reply that petition, clear off his name from all the allegations leveled against him, establish reasons why those allegations were false, and then you can proceed to court and then seek for whatever justice you're seeking for. So at the end of the day, it becomes more robust, and it gives us the privilege to see things from other angle. But at the end of the day, he kept himself out of the whole response thing, and then went ahead to the court to seek for a restraining order to restrain the legislature from carrying out its statutory duty. So this makes it a one-way thing. Then at the end of the day, the 7-man panel of inquiry was set up, headed by the Chief Judge of Oyo State. And at the end of the day, investigations by the panel established substantially that not only that the House had not violated any section of the Constitution by going about its statutory duty, the allegations leveled against the SY Deputy Governor were found to be true and genuine, and they made recommendations back to the House of Assembly to uphold the impeachment proceeding, and that was what happened. So at the end of the day, the Deputy Governor continued to run from one court, and now he's making moves to go to the Court of Appeal. I would have think, in the whole of all of this, you have not come out to counter the allegations contained in the petition against you. So I think he had not handled this matter more cleverly than I had expected.
Okay, you've explicated that very well. But I would like to take you on something you said earlier, that the governor being the leader of the party, the lawmakers are meant to be loyal to him. Those were your words, not mine. What should loyalty in this context be in terms of the lawmakers? Are they meant to be loyal to the governor or loyal to the state and the constitution? So help me understand that, explicate for our viewers to understand.
Thank you very much. You see, first of all, the legislators owe it the duty to be loyal to the state and to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
But they also owe it a duty to be loyal to whoever is the leader
Even if it violates the Constitution?
In what sense?
No. If it violates, in this case, you cannot establish if they violated.
Okay.
Because this is not a petition that came from the governor. The reason why the governor is connected to this debate is because he is the leader of the party.
Okay.
The petition did not emanate from the governor.
Yes.
So it is expected that as politicians and as the leader of the party,
Yes.
you should exert some level of loyalty to the leader of the party. And according to the constitution of the PDP,
Okay.
a case of disloyalty has sanction. So that means that the party, at the party level, the constitution recognizes loyalty.
But that's at the party level. The laws of the land would definitely rule that of the constitution of parties. And the law of the land requires that lawmakers, in discharging their duties, should be loyal to the states they represent, as well as the laws of the land. That's the constitution.
Yes, absolutely. But you also agree with me that the entire process did not started from the executive arm. The entire impeachment process completed a circle among the three arms of government, because the alleged was a member of the State Executive Council as former deputy governor.
Okay.
The petition originated from the legislative arm of government, and the petition was forwarded to the judiciary.
But let's look at the way the three tiers of government are usually formed. You'd realize that most governments or most governors usually want to have the House of Assembly aligned to their party in terms of the party lines, so that they can see eye to eye. Should we have that kind of structure, especially when you look at the fact that cases like this usually happen, and then the House of Assembly would want to dance to the tune of the governor, even the judiciary in most cases? Should we have this kind of structure in place such that it is the law that is followed through, and not just about some form of loyalty or allegiance to the governor?
Well, you see, it's a very tricky situation, because first of all, one of the things that is a lacuna in the constitution, let me not say constitution, in the system that we practice in Nigeria, our democratic system, is the inability up until now of the state governors to grant autonomy to the legislature. And that is like holding the rope that ties the neck of the goat. So the goat is not free. So at the end of the day, it boils down to the House of Assembly being comprised of different political parties. So when you have a case or a situation where the House is comprising of mainly a one-party affair, then the governor that is the leader of the party will easily have his way to do everything he wants.
But should that be the case?
That should not be the case. That's the problem with our system. Because, and let me tell you, we may continue to talk about this back and forth, but I tell you what, the moment there is independence, I mean in its true form, autonomy,
The
for the three
tiers.
arms of government to operate independently, then we'll begin to see things in a different form. But until that happens, other arms of government are at the mercy of the executive.
Sadly.
That is just a sad reality. So what we are dealing with here is that the lawmakers, even though some of them may have a different opinion, even from the outset, they may not necessarily be able to have their way. And the moment you are seen to be engaging in anything anti-party or disloyalty to the leader who in this case is the governor, then there are definitely going to be sanctions against you. So that is the problem that we see. Assuming that the House is comprising of Party A, Party B, Party C, Party D, and you have different interests,
it will be difficult to get a consensus.
Then you are definitely going to have issues having your way easily when you go to the legislature.
Okay, that's a fine place to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time on the show. It's a great privilege having you on board.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We'll go on a very short break right now. One return, it will be time to take you through the commercial side of sports.